The other thing that I think is going to be very interesting as this rolls out, and let's see how many actives out of the 150,000, but let's assume over time it grows, is like soon people will start doing things like wellness apps that have behavioral incentives, because it's easier when it's in a place that does that, as opposed to find it and then the app store doesn't allow you to download it and all of this shit, right? So, wellness apps, the sleep apps. I mean, why 8 Sleep doesn't have a reward system, a tokenized, why Peloton never did, it's beyond me. But these are huge cases of Web3 and gaming as well, that once you get people using this stuff in one place, it's all seamless.
Hey guys, welcome to Everyday Finance. The liquidity cycles and timing of what Raoul Pal refers to as the banana zone are the primary focuses of his system. The banana zone is the explosive phase that occurs when money flows into risk assets. Also, by the year 2025, the story is no longer merely a notion. At this point, Bitcoin, Ether, and XRP are all ingrained in everyday life. Cryptocurrency payments are becoming increasingly commonplace, from Starbucks coffee to Microsoft software. With the help of apps that rapidly convert tokens to dollars, shops are able to accept digital assets without having to worry about their volatility. Travelers may now book flights and rooms using cryptocurrency. In addition to purchasing groceries and coffee, using airlines such as Emirates and sites such as Travala, Lamborghinis at Post Oak Gucci's runway collections, and Ralph Lauren's flagship stores are all examples of luxury firms that have begun to accept cryptocurrency payments utilizing Bitcoin, Ether, or XRP together. The three cryptocurrencies, Bitcoin for trust, Ether for flexibility, and XRP for speed, will be responsible for altering the payment system in the year 2025.
Yeah, and it also, as you said, it takes a lot of middlemen out the middle, but the quality of dollars spent in marketing budgets becomes so much better when you know who you're marketing to in a way that's authentic and is approved. And this kind of gets around that whole process. So yeah, I think that's a really clever idea. Now, how do people use this? Is it there? I mean, because the issue is most people have an iPhone in our industry.
Yeah.
And what do you think? That people are going to have two, that we sit around and we do our Web3 stuff on one phone, we think of it as a secure environment, much like we might do stuff in our Ledger environment?
I think it's going to be mixed.
And then some people just use it all day and others don't.
It's going to be mixed, right? So we've already shipped out tens of thousands of phones. And so we have some very preliminary
I'm still
data,
waiting for mine to arrive. It's not arrived. It's ordered.
I'll get yours after this call. I'll make sure it's on the way.
It's on its way, apparently.
That's good. Okay. So it's very market dependent, right? Like when I came into this, I sort of had the same knowledge, not knowledge gap, but like I kept running my head into the idea, are we sure that people will use this? And the truth of the matter is, outside of the US and, maybe some other more affluent Western European markets, people use Android phones all day, every day. They don't need iMessage. They don't need iPhoto. And so we see much more regular usage habits outside of the United States, where people are using it as their daily devices. They're activating SIM cards. They're getting it onto their carrier. And so for those users, they're thinking about it as their everyday device, and it's got great crypto features. For everybody else who maybe doesn't want to leave their iPhone, or they don't want to leave whatever Android device they have, they want this to be their secondary device, that's great too. One of the things that we really set out to do this time, we wanted to make it smaller, we wanted to make it lighter, we wanted to make it more portable, so that for users who do think of it as a secondary device, it doesn't feel like you're lugging a brick around with you everywhere. So I expect we'll see a lot of people who treat it that way, right? It might not be the full cold storage, a ledger in a safe, but it's going to be maybe a slightly warmer solution that is more usable. There's apps, there's things you can do. The trading is super simple. And so I expect there'll be a good mix. I think I'll be excited to see how that shakes out depending on region.
And the other thing, when, you think outside of our bubble in, the US and around, is when you've got a hardware device like this, think what it means for stablecoin payments when you can tap.
Totally.
So, then suddenly it becomes a very easy process.
Totally. Yeah. Payments is a really critical opportunity for us, right? When you look again, I think you framed it well, kind of take yourself out of the US for a second. As people come online in certain parts of the world, they're doing it through mobile devices, right? These are people who are maybe new to the internet. They're doing it through inexpensive mobile devices that they primarily get through their carrier. And not only that, the relationship that they have with the carrier and with their phone is also a bank. They're also using it to pay for stuff. They're using it at point of sales terminals. And so mobile in so many parts of the world became synonymous, not only with the internet, but also with global payments infrastructure. And so take that really powerful idea and infuse everything that's great about crypto as it relates to payments, you have a really compelling package. And so that's, payments is something we're really working to make sure that we're solving user needs around the world with. By default, we're launching with Seed Vault Wallet. And so it handles a lot of the core Solana Pay infrastructure stuff on an as needed basis, but connecting it to that real world physical card, that's not something that we've natively integrated. It's something we're thinking about, but obviously there are loads of great card providers who can give you means to spend your USDC or your other SPL tokens. So I expect to see that to continue to take off.
Yeah, just in my head, because I've spent a lot of time traveling around the world in various countries, is like, there's such a nice UX you can do. Let's say I'm in India, the Philippines, wherever I want, and I can just flick you $5.
Yeah, totally.
Right? And it goes to your phone, right?
Yeah.
That experience is gorgeous user experience. The Indian stablecoin, not stablecoin, whatever it is, the government-sponsored one, that's the UX that they've got. So you get a picture of like a 5 rupee note or 10 rupee note, and you just flick it at the person as if you're giving it to them. I'm like,
that's great.
That's genius, because it makes it even less technical and so kind of visceral. It's like, here, I'm giving you money. It's like stuff like that you can do with the mobile. You cannot do otherwise.
Not only that, that is one awesome use case. Like, that's just great. Every time I travel, I'm always curious to know how people are paying their friends, right? Like in the US, it feels like Venmo and the Cash App have kind of won. You go to somewhere that doesn't have the banking infrastructure we have, or a government that's quite as trustworthy, and they can't really rely on it to the same degree, and they're a little bit confused. So I love that use case, but also too, it's going to be really important to get security right. If people start using their phones to self-custody assets as opposed to relying on a third party to custody them, there's going to be like some natural anxiety about, oh, okay, I've got like what feels like real money in this phone. It changes people's model, the mental model they have, right? As opposed to thinking of your phone as, oh, this is how I sign into my bank, but this isn't my bank. This doesn't hold my money. It's just how I get there. The moment that changes and it is more reflective of you self-custodying those funds, you've got to make sure you give customers a really secure device. Because the moment somebody flicks that 5 rupee note to a friend and then it gets lost on the way, or somebody steals it, or your friend's phone gets hacked, you're not going to do it again. Like you're just going to go back to whatever you were doing before. That might not be as easy to use. It might not have the same experience. It might be more expensive, but at least it's safe. And so that's something we're really dedicated to solving, is like, make sure you're giving self-custody users the best possible experience they can have on any mobile device.
Although there has been a boom in the use of Bitcoin, it has not been able to keep up with gold or equities, both of which have reached record highs this month. The problem is not with the fundamentals. Rather, it is with the liquidity mechanisms. The analysts at CryptoQuant explain that when the Federal Reserve reduces interest rates, the money that is invested by institutions initially flows into high liquidity assets such as stocks and gold. Cryptocurrency, which is located further down the liquidity pipeline, typically performs better later on after people's appetite for risk increases. The typical cycle of lag then leap is created as a result of this. Stablecoin dynamics contribute to the picture. The supply of currencies is at record levels, yet there are less coins available on exchanges, which is evidence of cautious positioning. While this is going on, the derivatives markets exhibit more activity related to hedging and leverage than they do to outright accumulation. Capital is circling cryptocurrency, but it has not yet fully committed to the cryptocurrency.
But that's also another mental robot you'll get over time as people build larger balances in self-custody. they don't fully understand it, so they kind of think it's in their phone. Like people think it's in a ledger device.
You're right.
It's a USB and it's got all my thing. And if I lose my USB,
the
which
money's
is
gone.
not, it's all about the seed phrase and all of this.
Yep.
You have to kind of, this industry overall has to get rid of this fucking issue of seed phrases, how it's done, write it down on a bit of paper. Yeah, it's like, this is just not going to work.
It's really tough. And we're still in the constraints of what the ecosystem has given us so far. So like we ship the phone and we do ship the seed phrase cards, and it hurts. Like when I see unboxing videos and I see people take out the seed phrase cards, I'm like, oh, I wish we didn't have to give you that, but we still do. There's a lot of interesting work being done on that front. Like I think to your earlier question about next 5 years, I think that will be a solved problem. I think we can still give users self-custody. They don't have to rely on us or some third party to custody their funds, but they're also not mired in this world of like, write it down on a piece of paper and hope you don't lose it. I think we'll get there. But in the interim, like people are going to have to overcome this hurdle of feeling like the funds are actually in the device, even though they're not. Or, well, if I carry my phone with me and I lose it, I can just lock it. With my iPhone, I can just lock it and wipe it, and I have a backup of it. So I'll just, have all my logins again. How does that work with a seed? If it's, if I've got a seed on the phone, how does that work? We get these questions to support all the time. The truth is it's just like your ledger or your other hardware wallet. It's not perfect, but it's not lost forever. It's just a matter of backing it up somewhere else. And so there's a ton of these UX hurdles that we'll commit to trying to solve in the next couple of years, but we're trying to take it one step at a time.
And the other big one is obviously the prevalence of SIM swaps and hacking. And, mobile phones are quite an attack vector. They're not perfect. I mean, nothing's perfect in this space. So there is an attack vector that's quite known, which is, the SIM swaps and stuff like that. And that, if you're just using it for day-to-day transactions and then you send it off to your ledger or a more secure environment, your multi-sig, if not, you still run that risk. And it's quite scary. Because you don't know it happens until it happens. And it's happened to so many amazing people in our industry. And they're like, oh shit, I've just been drained.
Yeah. That's, one of the reasons, like we could have taken a different approach with Seeker, right? We could have had people go through a social login on the way in, or we could really be pushing like the embedded wallet infrastructure onto partners. But ultimately, like it just we don't feel as in control of that at this point. I think things will change with time, but right now, self-custody, you onboard, you generate a fresh seed, new accounts, and you use that as your source of funding. That's the most in control version of this we have. And then on a per app basis, when they want to connect and transact, you still have that secure signing UI. You still have this app that's running totally separate from the rest of the phone. It's the same way that these phones protect biometrics and protect other sensitive information. We've just extended its capabilities. We think that as things stand right now, the surest way to not get stuck by SIM swapping or somebody hacking your email and also then losing your self-custodied funds is to generate a new wallet, have it backed by the hardware of Seed Vault, and use that as your primary account when you're transacting across the web.
The other thing that I think is going to be very interesting as this rolls out, and let's see how many actives out of the 150,000, but let's assume over time it grows, is like soon people will start doing things like wellness apps that have behavioral incentives, because it's easier when it's in a place that does that, as opposed to find it and then the app store doesn't allow you to download it and all of this shit, right? So, wellness apps, the sleep act, I mean, why 8 Sleep doesn't have a reward system, a tokenized, why Peloton never did, it's beyond me. But these are huge cases of Web3 and gaming as well, that once you get people using this stuff in one place, it's all seamless.
That's, it's something that we're working on our roadmap, is sort of blowing that out. Right now, it's pretty binary, right? This is probably a person, or this is probably not a person, is sort of the context that we're thinking about this in. But like, if you think about all this stuff that your phone is capable of doing, there's so much information on there that can prove yourself to potential developers. Your location, right? Like, are you allowed to take part in this thing based on where you're based? You could give additional information for things like DPIN apps, right? Back in the day, StepIn had some serious bot problems because people were just spoofing their location. Because we've built the phone, because we have privileged access, we'll know if someone's spoofing their location. So if we can build in these attestation mechanisms so that a user can say, this is my verified location, but I'm only offering it up to apps that I think it's worth it for me to offer it up, then they have control of that, right? They're not just handing it over to Google or Apple to build trace data into their maps. They're in full control of it. And so we want to keep that ownership alive. And so if you want to monetize your activity, or you want to monetize your phone's location or the sensor data, you'll be able to. And we're just focused on building the systems to basically make that type of transaction opportunity possible in the first place.
According to the lessons that history has taught us, this moment can be the quiet before the storm. As a result of liquidity eventually spilling over into cryptocurrency, Bitcoin has consistently outperformed other cryptocurrencies in the months that follow market peaks. The banana zone concept proposed by Raoul Pal implies that the same pattern will occur. Traditional assets will absorb the first wave, and Bitcoin will ignite once liquidity and stablecoin reserves that have been placed on the sidelines return. As Bitcoin's acceptance rate continues to rise in everyday life and liquidity cycles continue to align, the stage may be set for the cryptocurrency to make its next jump. It is possible that this will mark the beginning of yet another historic rally for those who are patient.